Welcome to Elite Broker, the podcast showcasing the leading players and stories of success from Australia's broking industry.
Hello and welcome back to Elite Broker. I'm your host for today, Annie Kane. And this week we're talking to a broker you might well know the name of. If you went along to the MFAA New South Wales State Excellence Awards 2025 earlier this year, you might remember seeing up on stage the winner of the Residential Finance Broker Award, George Massouridis. George has been in the broking industry for over 30 years, having started his own brokerage, Elwood-based brokerage Mortgage Navigators, about 25 years ago, and over the last quarter of a century has been building his brokerage and team to support clients across New South Wales. You may also remember him from the Pepper campaign that ran on TVs and radio in 2023 as well. One of the poster boys of the broker industry is George. So we're going to be picking his brain today about how he's built his thriving brokerage, what he thinks it takes to be a successful broker, and what's next. So welcome, George. Kalimera. Thank you very much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Now, for anyone who didn't go to the MFAA State Excellence Awards, they missed out on a cracking speech that you gave, actually. I was there and listened to it, and I thought, we need to get this man on the podcast. So thank you for coming in to join me. For anyone who's not met you before, though, George, you've been around for a while, so I kind of feel like you're one of the OG brokers. You started about 30 years ago. What did broking look like at that time, and why did you become a broker?
Well, thank you for having me again. Broking, it's changed significantly. When I first started, it was a lot simpler, a lot less players in the market. But I think it was funny because, like most brokers, I transitioned from being a banker. So I worked for the big red W for Westpac, yeah, for probably about 6-7 years. And from there, I dealt with a lot with brokers whilst I was working there. So I just basically saw what they were doing and I thought I could do it better. So I just basically made a decision literally and said I can do this, and here we are.
Yeah, and how much broking has changed over the years, over the decades, because at that time, you know, broking was really in its infancy, probably just started in the early 90s. And at that moment in time as well, as you said, far fewer players in market, both from a lending perspective but also from a broking perspective. What was an aggregator? I mean, at that point, probably wasn't really any. So how did you set up as a broker to begin with back then? Did you have to choose an aggregator, or did you just kind of start?
No, it was interesting because September this year we enter our 26th year, and I remember the day I made the decision to become a broker. It was the 9th of September in 1999, so it's a funny number. But nevertheless, I made that decision and to leave the bank, and it was direct accreditations at the time. You just had to be referred to. The broker units were there, but nothing really no one really knew about it as such. So made the decision, and when I resigned from the bank, the actual bank itself did the intro for me to contact Westpac broker unit and become a broker the day I resigned from the work. So it was just instant.
Easy. So did you write then a lot of Westpac loans when you first started because you knew the credit policy inside out?
Westpac. Pretty much I was just a Westpac broker.
Mobile banker.
Yeah, for the first probably 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So then did you actually decide to, how did that look? Did you work from home? Did you travel a lot to people's houses? What kind of broker were you?
Well, the good thing about my story was that the mobile phone that I had with Westpac was my number as opposed to having a work number. So the phone kept on ringing. So I had clients of mine that I've had through Westpac for years would just contact me thinking I was at Westpac. Yeah. So I would then spend a few minutes explaining to them, look, I'm going to write your Westpac loan, but I'm going to do it from a cafe or your home or my granny flat in the back. And that's how and customers dealt with me, so they didn't care whether I was a broker and or an employee of Westpac. So and I thought, and here we are.
So then how did it kind of progress? Once aggregation became a big thing, we had the beginning ones like Plan and AFG. How did you end up kind of moving into one or choosing one?
Well, I was trying to get direct accreditations with more than my first lenders were Westpac St. George, because being the Westpac group. And I wasn't being able to get the other lenders because of volume restrictions and whatnot. So they were pushing me to aggregation. So I met up with a very, very good friend, a very dear friend of mine, which everyone knows, David O'Toole. And I was introduced to Fast at the time. And that was the simplest model, cheapest model, because I didn't really need anyone to teach me to do what I just needed the avenue to get into the lenders. And Fast was my option at the time. And
So you became a fast broker, now part of LMG Group. Did
Yes.
you stay with them or did you move when they consolidated into LMG?
no, we stay with LNG.
So you're now an LMG broker.
Correct.
And obviously, because your company is called Mortgage Navigators, you've got your own brand.
Correct.
And you brought that over with you. How did you go about choosing the brand name and making the kind of, was it just an option of that URL is available and therefore I'll do it? Or did you, hire a marketing person? How did you actually come up with it?
I had a very good friend of mine. He presented me 3 or 4 options. A very, very close family friend of mine loved the word navigating people. It was a term they used a lot in the States at the time. And we built the mortgage around the word navigate or navigator. So it just was born literally by just conversation about navigating people through the maze of getting a home loan or buying or creating wealth through property, that sort of stuff. So we just bolted on mortgage to navigators, and the rest is history.
Hey presto. And so at that point, how did you start? Was it just you doing everything? Did you have anyone else supporting you?
Well, I started from the back, as I said, in a granny flat in the back of my home in Hurstville, where I started. It was just me. And then from there, probably 3 or 4 months into it, I took up just a desk in an accountant's office in Earlwood, which is right next to my current office. And from there, I had my wife help me for 1 or 2 days a week, just do the admin side of things. And then we got busier and busier. And from there, I had no choice but to recruit. And from there, it's just where we are now.
So looking at how you kind of, I guess, built your first leads, and this is always so important, isn't it, when you're a broker? You obviously said already you had quite a lot of calls coming from your previous clients, but you were also working in the accountancy
Correct.
firm. So did you have a lot of referrals from them?
Absolutely. We had my phone kept on ringing, but the accountants referred me most of their clients. That's how it all started.
Yep.
We built that over the first probably 5 or 6 years. Strong relationship with accountants and referrals. And referrers, and that's where we built our brand. I started firstly, you mentioned Mortgage Navigators. I made it a point for the first 12 months, I didn't have a name. I had no business name, nothing. I thought if I can do this for 12 months, then I'll establish a name for myself. So for the first 12 months, I had no name other than just myself, my mobile number and an email. And then I went to a marketing company and created the name Mortgage Navigators from there.
Why did you think that maybe you wouldn't be doing it after 12 months? What was the doubt?
We were just married. I had my son was 11 months old, starting a family, and I thought I'm not going to go and expense the setup cost of setting up a brand where it may not go off. That said, when I left Westpac, I left Westpac on very good terms, and Westpac said, "You're one of our largest riders. If you ever want to come back, come back." So I gave myself 12 months.
Yeah.
If I can do this, I won't go back.
And obviously 25 years later,
Correct.
Still doing it. So it all worked out, which is great. And I haven't yet asked you, and I probably should. Do you just do resi loans or do you do everything now?
No, we do everything. Predominantly, we're probably 85% resi, 85 to 88% resi, and about 10%, 12% commercial and asset finance and SMSF and other little bolt-on.
Yeah.
Bolt-on
And
products.
you've said how many people are now in your team?
Well, currently there's 6 of us in our mortgage business, because we also have a real estate business. But in our mortgage business, there's 6 of us, myself as the principal, my wife as the ops manager in HR, and then I have 4 other staff, 2 brokers and 2 assistants or EAs to the brokers. So it's
Kind of loan admin type
Correct,
role. That's really interesting, I think, having other brokers and businesses. And so many brokers, I think, might panic at the idea of bringing in another broker, but also having to support staff. And of course, it's a big consideration. Once your business starts growing, you can't feasibly do everything yourself. How long was it before you brought on either a loan admin support or a broker underneath you?
Okay, well, probably the first support came into probably about a year and a bit. The support, and that's funny because the person that is now broker, he's been with me for 23 years.
Oh wow!
So she's been working with me and transitioned into broker, and then I brought another gentleman in the business where he's ex-Westpac himself. So he's come in as a broker. He came in as admin, but I've trained them up to become brokers, and they've got their own accreditations, and they basically write all the business now.
Yeah. So what do you do?
Yeah, that's what my staff tell me every day. But I use this. Can I use this example? I've used this before. You know, when you enter an airplane, you're flying to Melbourne, for example. Someone greets you at the front door of the plane, sits you down, make sure you have your refreshment. So they're my staff that talk to my clients, make sure the experience is great. But just before the plane takes off, the pilot comes on and talks to you for those 2 seconds. So I'm that pilot that comes in, makes people feel comfortable, but does the handoff to the crew in the plane, which is my crew in my office.
Yeah.
And then during the course of the plane, I don't talk to anyone. My staff take care of all the staff, the clientele. Similarly, but just before the landing, the pilot comes in again and thanks you for joining, being on the flight. I'm similar, coming towards the end of the transaction. Thank you for the business. And that's what I do. I just basically make people, I ensure that people know that I'm there, but I make it clear that I let my staff do the work. So it's important because it empowers your staff as well.
Yeah.
And gives them accountability to starting with a client.
I think that's a fantastic analogy. I'm going to think about that now every time on a plane. I'm going to be like, oh, it's George Massouridis again. So when you actually hand over, I guess, the loan writing side of the business, I can imagine that would have taken some time before you did that. How long was it before you kind of decided you were going to step off the tools? So
being 20, 25, 26 years in business, probably about 10 or 15 years ago, probably 10 years into it, I went away, stepped away. Yeah. I think it was important because you're taking calls and doing things and not actually giving the client the attention they needed, because it's not about the admin side of it. It's very important to connect the client and really understand what the client's needs are. And I wanted to spend more time with that because there's other opportunities outside of that. Because if you spend more time with the client learning about that, there are other potential referrals you get out of it, et cetera. But if you focus just on the admin, you take away from the other opportunities. So I had to do that in order to grow the business.
Yeah, and I think this is so interesting because there are so many different types of broker out there. And often when we do our events at Your Advisor, we talk to all different models available. You can be the broker who does all the strategy still. You can be the broker who only does the kind of the business ops almost. You can be the face of the brand and not do any and have like support around you. You can do so many different things and choose your own kind of adventure, or of course that can evolve over time. So it's really interesting to me to hear how like now you're kind of the face of the brand and the business owner and leader. Have you always had the kind of team member and size and structure that you've had, or did you try anything else?
No, back in 2017, 18, we had a double the size. But we worked in a different way. So we fast forward now, we've got half the team doing double the volume by simply just changing the processes. And I think we talked about the generic emails, the one email touch, and we've now got half the team double the volume and way more efficient. So it's not necessarily the larger team the better. The smaller team the more efficient.
Yeah, interesting. And were they brokers and loan admin? Were they all
brokers? All
brokers?
admin at the time.
Okay, interesting. So I think that's a good example of seeing like trial and error is always kind of a good thing to do, to be like, can I do this? Maybe rejig that. There's no such thing as a concrete business plan. It always evolves. But yeah, so interesting to hear that you kind of scaled back again. And you're not the first broker actually to tell me that before. I've heard other brokers also say they grew their business and actually decided to bring it back a little bit because it was either more efficient or just because it kind of worked better with their plans. So,
and it's usually the tech as well, the tech that enabled us to do that now.
Yeah. You mentioned as well about having a second business, the property business, and correct. I do want to talk about that. So that started about 10 years ago.
10 years ago, that's correct.
Property Navigators, which is a buyer's agency and property management company. Why start that up? Sounds like a lot more work.
I'll tell you, well, being an astute property investor myself, I wasn't being serviced correctly by the property managers that are managing our portfolios. And I saw an opportunity to go back, study, become an agent, do the courses, auctioneers, do everything in order to create a business. I thought I could do this better, similar to what I did with broking 15 years earlier. And the rest is history. We've started that now, and I started the business 10 years ago. I've come out of the role as a licensee probably 2.5 to 3 years ago, and my son's come in as a licensee and been running ever since. So,
the one who was 11 months old when he first started.
Correct.
That's
He's
so
now
nice.
turning 27 in October.
Wow. So, I mean, yeah, you've got like I guess he's been around this the whole time. So
since he was 18 years old. He's been involved in our property business early, but left school at 17, 18 and been in our offices looking at what we do and how we do things in the real estate business ever since he was 18.
So nice. And so did you kind of then go, okay, well, when you were focusing and building the Property Navigators brand, did you kind of step away from loan writing at that point because you had the brokers?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think this is really like fascinating to me as well, being like how you can kind of provide that full service offering. And we do see multiple big brokerages and particularly established ones kind of have this different model where they've kind of added on either buyer's agency service or a conveyancing service or some sort of thing that helps them in their actual property journey, helps their clients through that. Nowadays, do you then kind of have, I don't know what my question was going to be. I've completely forgotten it. Do you then kind of have someone where you kind of go, this is, an introduction to your son? Sorry,
Jonathan. My son.
This is an introduction to Jonathan about property management.
Correct.
And the majority of our clients now investors.
Correct. So, but basically, when the client comes in for a home loan and the journey begins, they contact our office and they come in. Once we understand they're investors and whatnot, we bring my son early in the piece into the conversation with the particular client, and we sort of showcase our services in property management. Why is important? Why real estate is very, very important in mortgages, because people tend to not know how to buy property, so we hold their hand through the whole journey. So that's why we navigate them through the maze of securing the finance, but also securing the property itself. A lot of people are very, very cautious or very freaked out about going to an auction and attending an auction. So I've attended without hundreds and hundreds of auctions for clients, and I've bidded for them. And I've done that for them. And I've loved that because I'm a passionate investor.
Yeah.
And we do it free of charge. We don't charge anyone anything. So it's a free service.
Yeah.
But all we ask is to do their mortgage and manage their property. That's what we've done. And we've been doing that for years. And I think once you provide that, it also helps with your conversion on the mortgage side of things. So if you're going to get them into a property sooner, it only results you getting a mortgage done and a home loan as a result. So it's important why it's important. I thought I'd do that, because it will just grow my mortgage book at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it.
Sort of, feeding naturally, organically.
Correct.
I think that's a great idea as well about going to the auctions and bidding for them. I would definitely be one of those people that would overextend myself because I get too excited at the auction and then be like, oops, now I've got a problem.
Well, I've been in auction scenarios where I've during the auction itself, I turn the client around. They're back towards the audience or the auctioneer.
Yeah.
And I go, look at me. You're in control at the moment, so what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And you just calm down, and you're that calming voice because you've done it so much, and they appreciate it, and very emotional. People are crying, and they're so happy that if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have been able to buy. That's what we bring.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break here, George. When we come back, I'd like to talk to you about how you actually manage your team, what kind of process you have in place, what tools and tech you use to get your work done, and we'll get into that just after this message. So, George, you were telling me earlier about the size of your team and who does what, but I want to walk me through, if you can, how you've built your process. Like, is it a process that you built that you still follow? Is it something that you kind of evolve over time? Does each broker have their own process? What does the Mortgage Navigators journey look like?
Well, a lot of brokers do things differently. What I found probably the last 7 or 8 years, we use generic emails to contact clients as opposed to having a specific broker talk to a client. So we would use for example, if I break it down, we'd have an admin email and an inquiry email. So all new business would come through an inquiry email, and all admin would be the credit analysts that work with the client post acquisition of the client. So our brokers deal with the inquiries, and our credit analysts don't look at the deal unless it becomes a deal first. So you split it away. No one needs to be all over. Whereas I see everything. My brokers actually get a look into the admin side, but the credit analysts and the admin don't have a look at the inquiry stage, because it's important they're working on the actual transactions that are already being our clients. So we have personal emails internally, but to the public, it's just 2 emails: inquiries and admin. And it's easy for clients. If someone's away, they can attend to that email without having to rely on that person coming back, being off for a week. So it's servicing the client correctly. There's no holes. You don't miss something, and it's worked wonderfully for the last probably close to 8 years now.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. The sort of idea of not having personalised emails, or at least having a centralised mailbox so that everyone can see what's happening if someone is away. Yeah, that's a great idea. And then how do you kind of, I guess, get to the loan recommendation? Like when you were doing it, were you, to begin with, obviously, as you said, Westpac and St. George were your 2 main lenders, and then as broking kind of evolved and more lenders came into the third-party space, I imagine, and you got into aggregation, you had a lot more choice. How do you then choose which lenders to go with? Is it that you kind of use any kind of resource to help you narrow it down? Is it just that you know the credit policy? Like, how do you actually? No,
I pride myself. Our team prides itself from we use on average probably about 15 lenders across. We do a lot of SMSF, a lot of credit impaired, self-employed, and we use second tier, third tier, anyone and everyone. We use the software that's available through our aggregator. We use, our My CRM, but also Quickly as an example, where we can actually get in there and funnel down the options. A lot of brokers tend to use 2 or 3 or 4 lenders and stick to that. I try not to do that. It's very, very important to open up all lenders. And you mentioned about Pepper and all that. We try and connect ourselves with all all types of lenders in order to provide literally a holistic an array of products. This is very, very important to remain relevant because things change and policies change, and other lenders have great products out there that we need to put in front of our clients.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the hardest things when particularly you're a new broker is learning credit policy and who does what, because as you mentioned there with SMSF, for example, not everyone does that.
Correct.
So finding the right lenders that do it and what that looks like and how you write it, there's so many things to learn.
Absolutely.
Great to hear some of the tech you're using there, and of course like kind of having a broad panel available to you, super helpful. When it comes down to then actually managing the team, so you talked about the mailbox that you have there. Do you do anything else in terms of actual management of getting everything done that you need to do? Like, do you break up your week by going like, I'm going to do marketing on Mondays and I'm going to do HR on Tuesdays, or like, what does your kind of operational management look like?
There's no real structure. We don't really, initially there was, but now it's very much reactive or ad hoc. As far as the sales aspect of it, we try to have a huddle on a day-to-day, a very light huddle daily on what the whip looks like and the pipeline looks like. If there's any concerns that the brokers might have on a particular deal, and we workshop the deal together with the analysts, and everyone puts their feedback as to what we should do in this particular instance. We have a deep dive probably twice a week on our pipeline and settlements that are coming through. There's no real, marketing is very much, I've outsourced to use a couple of companies out there that help us for marketing purposes and EDMs and all that sort of stuff we do. I try to do, it's very hard now to do that all one person do that in the office. So you need to let it go and empower other people and make them accountable for doing that for you. So it's very, very important to let it go.
Yeah. And then you talked about empowerment and accountability there. Some of the key buzzwords, I think, in HR and management. You mentioned, I think, earlier that your wife does a lot of the HR as well and the kind of the operational side of things. But what do you think is, key to having staff and having people feel empowered? Do you do anything as a business owner and a business leader that you think is particularly helpful to fostering a good work environment?
What I tend to do, we even though it's a very small team, we treat our business as if we're a large organisation. So we do things from an HR point of view and a operations point of view. We treat it as if we're a lot bigger than we are. That said, we're extremely personal with our staff. Our staff are very empowered. When there's a situation where our clients may be upset with a particular transaction that's taking place, I back my staff every time. So I tend to deep dive in what's taking place, find out what took place, and also every staff member needs to be accountable. They need to know you've got their back. Very, very important. A customer comes and goes, but a staff member's there for a while. We're going to be there for years. And I mentioned, 23 years, 7 years, 6 years, and 5 years. So we had a long-term tenure with us. I think once your staff know that you've got their back, as long as we do the right thing, which is what I sit down with my staff every day, are we doing the right thing? Then I'll back them every single time. So that's very, very important. And to be honest, I'm the one that creates a bit of havoc in the office. I'm the one that plays up every day, and they're the one that calm me down. It's normally the opposite. I tend to disrupt the staff more than they disrupt me. So
well, that's a good way to have it, I suppose. Like them feeling
daily. That
calm.
happens daily.
Yeah, feeling calm. And you mentioned about the office as well, and I'm always curious to ask about how brokers use their offices. Like, is it something where you have like a shop front that people can come and like your clients come to, or is it just kind of somewhere where you work?
No, we have a shop front. We've had a shop front from day dot.
Yeah.
We use, as a result of COVID, as everyone can appreciate, a lot of things changed from meeting with clients online. We still do a lot of that. Probably 2/3 of our clients are now via email online. We still have the available shop front.
Yeah.
A lot of the clients that have transacted with us over the last 20 years want that face-to-face. The newer, the younger clientele, it's in their early 20s and mid-20s. There's no face-to-face contact.
Yeah.
They'd rather do it via a Zoom session, Teams meeting, email or phone call.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think,
Time poor,
but also I think people do things at weird times. Like a lot of the time people are reading their contracts at like 3 a.m. and you're a bit like, what are you doing awake?
Yeah.
Why have I got
we see the emails that come in at odd hours, 5 a.m., 5:30, 4:30.
Yeah.
I think you need to provide both. You need to have the shop front because and have the other option as well, but because we transact for the parents now. It's two generations now. We had the parents their kids, and now their kids.
Wow. So
it's
3 generations.
Three
really?
generations,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
3 generations, yeah.
So I guess it's the people that you were sort of servicing 30 years ago, now their kids have got their first loans or their first cars, and now those kids have got
And the kids that want to transact with us, they don't want to do it face to face, but the parents do the handover face to face. So the handover happens face to face from the parents, and then we transact with the kids by Teams or Zoom.
Yeah.
So, but the handover needs to be that old school handover face to face with the parents.
Yeah. So you've got both, and I think it's interesting with brokers that have physical storefronts that kind of welcoming clients into is being like, well, how do you choose where it's going to be? What kind of things were you thinking about when you got an office space?
Well, it's funny because I was actually the branch manager at Westpac at Elwood. So I opened up my office 4 doors up. So that was just I was lucky with
Were
that.
you just like handing out flyers, being like, "Get rejected from Westpac, come over here"?
No, it was funny. Literally, my office, the branch was down the road, and I opened up literally. I think it was 5 doors up.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I was talking to another broker fairly recently from Port Lincoln who did a similar thing. He used to work at CBA, and then he sort of opened his brokerage just a few doors down.
I didn't do that on purpose. It just happened. It was an opening.
Sure,
it was an opening. My accountant was there, so we just go, look.
Yeah.
He gave me the office for a year rent free. And said, look, if you're here in a year, you can start paying me rent in a year from now.
Oh, great.
And that's what happened. It was, as I said, I gave myself that 12-month period.
And nowadays, I mean, looking at because obviously you kind of obviously service people in Elwood, but from
all
further
over
afield, So how do you segregate, I suppose, your reach and your presence outside of your local community?
Well, how do we service those clients, you mean?
How do you find them and how do you service them?
99% of our business is word of mouth. Close to probably, we don't other than our normal, the EDMs that go out to our clients, we don't physically market it. We don't spend money. We don't spend dollars in advertising at all. We spend dollars in advertising to our existing clients, which we utilize their word of mouth, and they refer. All our business is referral.
Yeah. And how do you ask for those referrals? Do you ask for them?
We don't.
So it's just natural, organic.
We don't know. I think if you do the right thing from the beginning, and you take care. I tend to look. I use the word care because it's all about customer focus. It's all about being accountable for what you do. It's about being relevant, remaining relevant, and also having the empathy. So if you do the right thing, I say to my staff and my son upstairs in property, just do the right thing the first time, and everything else will follow. Just be genuine, but also love what you do. The clients tend to know that in the first meeting if you're really passionate about what you do. And I think you asked me before, what would you do? What would you say to brokers that's starting off?
No, I'm going to ask that.
I know. But yeah.
We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
And when you think about then, I guess, embedding in your local community, so having a shop front, I imagine people know who you are.
Absolutely.
You're kind of like a landmark. They
Yes.
would be like, oh, you just go,
Yes.
go here and, and Mortgage Navigators, that's the signpost for directions. Do you then also do stuff in your local community, and if
Absolutely.
so, what?
Yeah, well, look, I've been the president of the chamber, or the business chamber, since probably 2018-19. It went a bit quiet since COVID, but still currently the president in the Chamber of Commerce. I back in the day, I used to bank most of the clients there in the local community as a Westpac manager. So I still have most of them are my clients now as a broker. Also, currently we do a lot of stuff with the local council. We're currently in the pipeline of putting a festival together. Together with the local council, Canterbury Council, they were able to secure some funding from the government.
What kind of festival?
There's going to be a festival for showcasing all the different nationalities in Elwood. It's going to be this year in September, on the 20th of September. And the councils, with the support of the chamber, was able to secure, I think, close to $350,000 worth of government funding to be able to host that festival for 3 years initially, and then try and get some sponsorships and just keep it moving. So that's what I'm trying to do for the local community: build the businesses up, support the local businesses, but also advocate with bringing new business in the area and trying. There's a lot of shop fronts that are closed. We want to get new people in there and to occupy those premises.
So that's more as you as a businessman rather than you as Mortgage Navigators. Yeah, kind of doing that. Is there anything that you do as a brokerage to support the local community, whether that's sponsoring teams or doing coffee mornings, anything like that?
ad hoc here and there. The local school, we sponsor the parent teachers at the local primary school. Nothing specific, but we try and get involved as much as we can. When they need our help, we're always there. There's also some elderly associations that we try and support as well, but it's more reactive than proactive.
Yeah. And when you look at then, I guess, the kind of things that you do to actually grow the business moving forward, you've got those two separate arms of the company now, the property business and the mortgage business. How much time do you reckon you kind of spend on both? Is it
a lot less than the property now since my son took over.
Yeah.
I would probably spend about an hour or two a day on the property, and the rest is with mortgages.
Okay, awesome. We're going to take a quick break here, George. When we come back, I'd like to talk to you about what's next for Mortgage Navigators and for you, what sort of things you'd like to see changed, if at all, in the broking industry, and your advice for new brokers. And we'll get into that just after this message. So we've talked quite a bit about how you kind of run your business and what it looked like as you were ramping up. Nowadays, can I just ask you, like, how many loans do you reckon you settle a year, or what kind of volume of business are you doing?
We're probably averaging anywhere north of 150 mil a year.
Okay, so pretty big size.
So we try and 150.
And of course, in New South Wales, that means different things to people who work in the regions of SA, for example. Can you give me an idea of how many loans that might be?
Well, it'd probably be anywhere between 20 odd deals a month.
Yeah. Okay, great. So kind of working through quite a high workload. And of course, you've got a large back book as well, having 30
Correct.
years of business. So there's a lot of things to manage day to day. What do you see next? Like, is it possible to keep growing?
I think growth has been on my mind for a number of years, and I think the quickest way to do it is acquisitions and buying some other businesses, some good businesses with some great IP, and bring that into the Navigators model that we want, and try and get those brokers that are looking to exit the industry, and try and keep them in the industry. And I think a lot of the brokers that are exiting or looking to exit or have exited is because COVID sort of nudged them out and being lonely. And sometimes want that one-man band. Having a shop front, having that environment, I think we can bring them in there and rejuvenate them. And I think that's the quickest way of growing the business at the moment, is buying into or buying a business or a loan book.
Yeah, and I think that is, again, something really common we've seen recently, is lots of brokerages merging together, consolidating,
Correct.
either because someone wants to retire and they kind of want to have, like, a longer handover, or because just generally people want to grow and they're like, well, buying a book is the fastest way, and ideally buying the person who's also,
Correct.
not buying them, but
No,
bringing in the person who's also been
You can utilize what they've got to offer, because everyone's got their own niches.
Absolutely. So you're probably looking at, you are looking then at growing.
Correct.
And would you grow both the property and the brokerage side, or one or the other?
Yeah, we're currently negotiating at the moment. We're acquiring a rent roll upstairs at the moment.
Oh, wow.
We're doing that. We're looking to buy another couple of rent rolls as well. So that's our growth strategy for property. And we've also just kicked off our sales arm with Property Navigators probably about a month ago. So
what does that look like?
we brought on a veteran in the sales industry. So he's a sales manager who will head up and try to headhunt and bring on probably half a dozen salespeople, hopefully by the end of the year, and just go out to the market and showcase our sales abilities. But because all we've been doing and doing it well is property management. But I think we need to attract new talent or existing talent that are tied where they are,
yeah,
and bring them in under our banner.
Yeah, awesome. So, I mean, no holidays for you then in the future,
No,
it sounds
no.
like. You're working straight through the rest of the financial year and for the
Absolutely,
foreseeable
absolutely.
future. Do you, though, manage to take any time out for yourself? Because I think one of the things, and you mentioned already about like the loneliness of being a sole trader, it can be hard to switch off or to actually
It's very hard.
take time. So I wonder, how do you manage the stresses and the time burden, the time burglary of being a business owner? Do you set aside specific time for yourself? Do you do anything to unwind and de-stress?
I should do more, but I don't. I used to, but it's probably a lot less now. But I try to spend as much time as I can with the family. I've got 4 kids, so it's been hard for my wife for the last 25 years running the household by herself, because I focused entirely on growing the business. I try and spend as much time as I can going to sports with my kids, watching events and doing that, because they've already gotten old. They're doing their own thing now. So I'm trying to hold on as much as I can for the last 2 before they go off.
Yeah, oh, bless. Well, I think that's good. I mean, family as well. What better way of spending your free time that you do have than with those you love the most and those closest to you? And hopefully one day You'll get a holiday.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
My wife hopes so.
So when you think then, I guess, again, about what the industry's doing, we talked about the future trajectory of mortgage navigators and property navigators, but when you think about the future trajectory of broking, we're in a really interesting time, I think, at the moment where obviously AI is coming through, technology is coming through, lots of people grappling with what does the new society look like with AI integrated into it. And people now going, well, should I just use AI for my mortgage advice or my credit advice? Do you see that as a threat to the broking industry?
Opportunity. It's an opportunity.
Why?
Absolutely. Look, I think buying a property, this is why we're doing real estate as well. People still like to deal with people. It's very, very important. It's an emotional transaction. In some instances, it's probably the only thing, the largest transaction they're going to do. So initially, people thought we could, do an online home loan and whatnot, but you still need to have that conversation, that one-on-one, that even if it doesn't have to be in person, but that phone call, that to make sure that everything's well, everything's going well. So I think AI will just make our job a lot efficient in what we do. So it'll help us in efficiencies. I think it'll never take away the element of having that one-on-one. It's very, very important because people, what brokers tend to do, some good brokers do, or there's other brokers that do this. You go to a broker, the broker makes the recommendations, and then you ask your client what you want to do. What we do is very different. The client comes to us, we tell them what they should do. It's very, very important. The client wants you to tell them what to do as opposed to give them the options. So what do you think? We don't do that. We tell them this is what I think you should do. And I think people want that. They want to be efficient, so you still provide the electronic, the means by way of Teams, Zoom. That's the efficiency aspect of it. But they still, the largest transaction, they're going to buy $1 million property or $2 million property, they still want to meet someone.
Yeah. And I think that's really, often the way. Of course, brokers, you provide 2 or 3 recommendations, but you kind of want to put one forward, go, this is what I recommend, because it's like, well, that's why you've come to me in the first place. And you validate why. Yeah, that's why you've come to me in the first place. Exactly, and saying this is why I've chosen it. Because it's in your best interest.
Correct.
And then looking at when you kind of, I suppose, look at the broking industry outside of AI, is there anything else that you sort of think, I wish this could be improved, or something that you think could be better?
Oh, the education piece is important. I think we've lost our way a little bit. It's all about the aggregator aspect of it, volume. It's all about volume. The more brokers, the more we write. But I think it's very important to have, this is a profession. It's a professional industry, and I think we need to make that very, very important. It should be front of all aggregators and all, say, MFAAs and the FBAs, where people have dedicated their life, like myself. And I think that by just creating a barrier to entry with more brokers coming in the industry, it's very important. Or on the flip side of that is having new brokers work under experienced brokers to ensure that you'll learn more doing that as opposed to just going on your own initially.
So do you think with there's 2 sort of elements to that, the education and the mentoring side. So the first one being education. Do you think that it should be mandatory that the diploma is, the credit, the sort of education requirement? Do you think people should have a degree? Like, what does that look like?
Minimum diploma, if not a degree.
Yeah. Okay. And then when it comes to the mentoring side, so you said about actually working with another broker, so almost kind of eliminating the sole trader model in effect, because you have to work with another broker. Do you kind of think that's important for both brokers who are coming in from the finance industry, let's say bankers becoming brokers, or do you think that's only important for new to industry?
I think it's more so for new to industry. New to industry, I think, is more important.
Yeah. And why?
Because I think people should be joining the industry for the right reasons. I think people become brokers because they see there's an opportunity to, they have this misconception that brokers are making all this money and they want to jump on and make this, but it's not like that. It's a very hard, it's an investment. You've got to spend a lot of time building relationships, clients, and I think once they work under a mentor, they'll realise that what it's all about as opposed to what they think it's about.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. We recently did our new broker academy, and we have 2 streams for that academy, both people who are new to broking but also people who are thinking about becoming a broker. And the amount of people who were thinking about becoming a broker who were like, I did not realise how much work this was.
Correct.
Because they just see the commission figures and go, well, fantastic, that will be my income. And it's like, no, that's not your income. You've got all these costs behind you.
They tend to forget that. Correct.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's always really interesting to see, like, the perception of what broking is and the reality, 2 very different things. So kind of making sure that people are prepared for that and maybe can follow in the footsteps of someone else, particularly for new to industry. I think that's good advice. If you were then kind of looking at the best things about broking. So we've talked about some of the things you'd like to see fixed, but if you were to highlight to someone why they should become a broker, what's the best thing about being a broker? What would that be?
Every transaction we do is different. We make dreams come true for clients. We're involved. Imagine, I think brokers take it for granted. It's the most important transaction of someone's life, and we're party to that. That's a huge privilege. It's a privilege to be a broker, or privilege to be involved in someone buying a property and providing their finance. And I think I never forget that. So I think it's important that that's highlighted.
Yeah, 100%. It is such a big, especially if you're buying your first home.
Yeah, it's very important.
It's such a marked time in your life, a big milestone. You kind of remember everything that happens about it. You remember your broker, you remember your real estate agent, you remember your conveyancer. Even your conveyancer is remembered. Right. But yeah, I think it's so wonderful. So if you had any advice for new brokers, either those just entering the industry for the first time from outside or people who were banking and moving into broking, what advice would you give them to succeed in this industry?
Do it for the right reasons. If you truly love the industry or love making dreams come true for people or whatever the case may be. Yeah, it's more about the right reasons. Become a broker genuinely to help people as opposed to make a name for yourself. It's more about the people. Anything else will come. That's what I've done. I've never lost sight of what I've been doing. Even though I've been doing it for 33 years, 25, 26 years as a broker, every time it's like the first time. I haven't lost it. I enjoy it. I get emotional about people buying property as if it was my first time. And I think it's because I love what I do and I love making people happy. And it's very, very important that you do that and do the right thing. If you can do the right thing every time, then everything else will follow.
And is there anything that when you think about your career as a broker over the last quarter of a century, if I can say that without making you feel too old, if you think about your career as a broker so far, what do you credit for your success? Like, what do you think, has there been anything that you've put in place that you're like, that really changed the game for me?
Without the team, without a great team around you, the support staff and everything, there is no Mortgage Navigators. So my success is because of their support over the last 25 years.
Awesome. Well, George Massouridis, thank you very much for your time today and sharing your story on Elite Broker. And best of luck with the new sales arm of Property Navigators as well. I look forward to see how that goes forward, plus the acquisitions as well. Okay. If there's any news in it, we'd love to write it on theadvisor.com.au. For anyone listening, do listen back to previous episodes on the Advisor Podcast Network. We've got heaps on there for you. Elite Broker, New Broker, Women in Finance, In Focus, What's Making Headlines. If there's a podcast that you want to listen to, there's probably going to be one on there. So do have a listen to the back catalogue, which you can find on wherever you get your podcasts or on the Advisor website, theadvisor.com.au. Don't forget, if you want to come along to one of our upcoming events, we've got SME Bootcamp coming up in September, going to Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney, talking all things business financials, how you can be supporting SME clients, how you can read P&L statements, how you can diversify into commercial finance and what sort of things are on the horizon in that space. That will be coming up in SME Bootcamp in September, plus the Women of Finance Summit and Awards in November. And don't forget the big one, the Australian Broking Awards at the end of August, where we crown the national winners of the Advisor Awards. And we look forward to seeing you there. We'll catch you next time for another episode on the Advisor Podcast Network.